How to manifest a higher IQ. If you are someone that has a test coming up or you just want a boost, you can use the law of attraction and various manifesting techniques to ensure your intelligence gets higher. This is a method my mentor shared with me when I simply asked her one day, "Why are you so smart? How did you get to be so smart?" And I remember her telling me the answer. But before I tell you the answer on how you can use the law of attraction to increase your intelligence, please subscribe. It is the best way for me to continue to do what I do to bring you valuable content for practical manifesting so that you can have tools to make your life a lot better. And that's exactly what practical manifesting is. It's cosmic metaphysical information that you can use to make your life a lot better. So please hit that subscribe button. I post videos like this every single week. So let's get into it. Manifest a higher IQ. How? Let me tell you a little bit of my mentor story. When I met my mentor probably about 7 or 8 years ago, she was probably the smartest human being I have ever met. She knew everything. She knew all the topics. She knew a lot of the dates. There wasn't really a topic that you could bring to her that she just couldn't really contribute, do a correction, or add on to it to what you were saying. So I've watched her for all these years be this kind of almost like a super intelligence. And, I've had my background where I had my HR certification and I got my master's in business administration. But yet still, even though I had a lot of education, even though I had a lot of experience, what I did not have was this mindset on how to know a lot of things, and especially on things, not only just niched things like your speciality, but things that relate to life, movement, space, time. In addition to knowledgeable pockets, this trick that I'm going to show you is going to show you how to be a master of the metaphysics in terms of time, space, movement, being, and also some very specific niche thing. So it was probably a couple months ago where we connected and I asked her, I was like, "Mentor, like, serious question, why are you so smart? Like for real, tell me, what is it?" And I felt silly asking the question because you don't really just ask someone, why are they smart? We just kind of have this assumption that people are just born smart and that they have things that we don't have. They have access to information. They retain information better than we do. There is one key fundamental difference between them and us, and that is curiosity. Curiosity is the key to increase your intelligence, to know more about life, to know more about the things that you're studying for, to help you be better prepared for upcoming exams, be prepared for a visit from a district manager, maybe at work. Maybe you were supposed to remember some things. Maybe there's just some unspoken tacit expectations on you knowing certain things. My family makes grits almost every morning. I couldn't make grits, but that was an expectation that they have. It wasn't intelligence that I didn't pick up until later. And then so if you have instances like that, this is going to help you. So it's not just enough to think about curious. You really have to embody curiosity if you want to increase your intelligence. Because here's the main difference between us, you, me, and this ideal person that has this huge intelligence is that they really aligned with the frequency of curiosity. And so if you're a curious person, you are just dying to know more information. Think about that for a second. Think about a time or a subject or a person you were very curious about and you just absolutely had to know more. You invested time, you've invested energy, You probably did a little bit of research. You probably remembered a couple things about that topic or that person of said interest. And then so over time, or maybe even instantly, when it came about for you to talk about those topics, you will find that you would have found a way, a roundabout way to use the law of attraction to have more intelligence. Why the law of attraction? Why curiosity? Think about knowledge. Let's embody knowledge as if it was as real as you and I. If knowledge, if intelligence was a human being, what would be something that it would be attracted to? And that would be a curiosity mindset. And then so every time I heard a word I did not know, I looked it up. When I was studying various things after that conversation, which was like project management, I looked up more words. I was more curious. When I was watching TV, I didn't just really just accept the words that they said and I just moved on. I actually looked it up. I remember I was watching a TV show, and it was kind of a dark TV show after this, and they said the word transubstantiated. Now, I've heard it before. I heard it in church, and I've heard it, just in the streets, and I heard it on that show. The old me now, listen to this. The old me would have just continued to watch and use that and would have seen that kind of as B-roll, just some extra fluff language that I didn't understand, that I wasn't even interested in looking up. That's what that was. But I actually looked it up. And then so transubstantiation was basically just embodying a state of Christ. So now I'm able to use the term transubstantiated in terms of embodying the work. So because I learned that word, I'm actually going to use it for this. So you have to transubstantiate yourself with your manifestation. You have to drink it. You have to eat it. You have to become it. Become curious so that whenever the time comes for you to flex, you would have that. And this is an embodiment that the super intelligence have, is that in the state of creation, there is curiosity. And so there is a power in curiosity. And so I have a story about when I actually use this method, and like I'm pretty good in terms of my career, but I wanted to master the art of frittata. And if you've ever tried frittata, you know it isn't the easiest thing in the world to make. And if you don't know what frittata is, I'll go ahead and tell you. Frittata is like this egg situation. It is an egg situation where you have cream, you have eggs, you have to fluff it, you have to put in the goat cheese, maybe even some potatoes or various types of vegetables that you want in it, and you have to bake it at a high temperature, and it has to be the high temperature like bread so it can fluff up. And if you don't do it right, it won't come out right. And there's like techniques that you have to do for frittata. It's not really, in my opinion, one of those meals that you could just watch and just make on your first try. It's built upon technique with a rubber spatula, folding the eggs, appropriate, which goes against how I made eggs growing up. Period. It's a nice and slow method where it's even like halfway undone, and you pop it in the oven at this high temperature, and it just looks like this beautiful, delicious Italian situation that I just love. Back to the story of curiosity. After my mentor told me that, I began a journey of trying different things with curiosity, and frittata make was one of them. I spent a couple hours watching a couple of videos, Martha Stewart, a couple of other people on how they made frittatas. Now, I didn't try it. I just watched it, and I was in my room, hotel room, and I was thinking of ways that I could incorporate it. And I just visualized myself making the frittata in the way that I learned. And I tried the technique with the proper eggs, put it in the oven, like the whole thing in my mind, I visualized it. 1 week later, I had an opportunity to make breakfast because I was with family and the topic came up, what's for breakfast? I'm normally one that makes breakfast in the group. I just love breakfast. I think it's a really good way to charge your mindset and to make sure you're good for the day Breakfast to me is food intention to help get your body, in the right direction. So I volunteered to make breakfast, and somebody said, well, why don't you make that frittata you told us about? And my first instinct was, I was worried. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't make this frittata. I've tried several times and I messed it up every single time. But then I thought about the curiosity aspect of it. And I thought about, I watched several videos on it, and I visualized myself doing it in my head. Let me trust that I could work with my subconscious brain and the law of curiosity and bringing forth the meal on the first try. So I go in the kitchen, make a fantastic frittata, and everybody was happy. But it was really, what struck me was this. I've tried it several times in several different ways, and I even actually put in more effort than I did this time. It was almost like effortless, almost as if I kind of didn't care, and it just worked out. And it was beautiful. That is a very simplified but yet bona fide example of how curiosity can bring a manifestation state of quasi super intelligence. Now, I've displayed this behavior with my friends as well, this curiosity mindset. When my mentor shared this with me, I shared it with everybody in my circle and was thinking, mentor said curiosity is the way to go, and it made sense to me. So I shared it with my friends, and I displayed this behavior of when something new comes to me, I just look it up and then just move on, and maybe even visualize it in my mind for a while of how I would use it or how it is used. And then I just forget about it and move on. And then so what you'll find is you're developing a behavior. You are developing a behavior to where you will be curious about a lot of things. If you hear a word and it really strikes you internally, you're not just going to move past it, but you're going to build a program into your head where you will look it up, or at least like me, I'll write it down and look it up later. And subconsciously, what's going to happen is as you're watching television, as you're watching videos, as you're living life, as you're doing your career, as you connect and communicate with loved ones, that brings up a space. It brings up a space in your brain, in the reticular activating system, RAS, to where it is now open to know what it doesn't know, where it now seeks information. You hear something that you don't know, it's going to take a pin in it. And even if you don't look it up, there's times where I don't look things up, but I put a pin on a word or a situation or maybe an area or a country that I heard before, and it's just sitting in my brain waiting for that information. And then there's a couple of times where I've heard the answer just by living life, or because I've built so much context clues around other things that I have built momentum to where it kind of answered itself. Or when I thought back about it, I was thinking, wow, I really know the answer that I was just so perplexed about last week. It just seemingly came out of nowhere. That's where the magic happens. It just seemingly just dropped out of the sky and into my head. All of a sudden, I could make the best frittatas. All of a sudden, I could finally understand various different laws. All of a sudden, I was able to hang on topics that I just really wasn't interested before, but it also helped me to communicate with people that I needed to network with, or people that I just had hold value with. So back to my friends. After about a month of displaying this behavior, there was a specific friend of mine that there was a word that I won't mention the word. It's kind of not relevant to this, but there was a word that I used and he didn't know it, and he never asked what it was, wasn't curious about it, and that's okay because he says things sometimes that I don't understand what he says, and we both just move on. But after about a month of me displaying this new behavior, it was contagious and it caught up with him. And then so the next time we had a conversation around that topic that I just really thought he didn't know anything about or wasn't interested, and maybe he wasn't. But the next time we had that conversation, he not only used that word, but he used it correctly and properly. And I was just blown and really impressed. And I asked him, we said those things multiple times, why now? And his response was, well, after hearing you talk about curiosity so dang long, I guess I just started to be curious. And after you said it, I just looked it up. And I've been using it ever since. And I was thinking, wow, what a very powerful tool that people could use something so simple to make a big impact on your life and others in terms of your comprehension, in terms of you adding value, in terms of you being an avid contributor, in terms of you being well-rounded or well-read, which has nothing to do with books, but being well-rounded and well-read, so the things that you're around, you're able to understand a lot better. And here's the point about compensation and forming your own law of compensation. Even though I've had higher education in the past, I must admit, using the law of curiosity, maybe I said law of compensation before, it's law of curiosity. Using curiosity, or the law of curiosity, has made me a better person in terms of being able to connect and being well-rounded. Because while my higher education was great, the amount that I'm able to learn and the amount and the things that I actually need to know or want to know for my everyday life, the law of curiosity and being curious kicked my education's butt. Because education is a curriculum and it's kind of static, and I'm a believer in it, of course, but I'm also a believer in other ways. You don't have to go to school. You could go to the school of life. The law of curiosity, and curiosity is a really great way for you to reach the levels that you want and manifesting knowledge. And you will see over time, without you even realizing it, you're going to know more things. And so if you have a test after you implement this curiosity method, that you will see you could build momentum to where over time you get smarter. And then so I remember when I was taking my senior HR certification last year, though I did not know about this cosmic view on curiosity, I loved what I did and I was curious anyway. And then so my interest led me to look more things up as I'm studying about ADA, ADEA, FMLA, all those various things. I was real interested. And since I was interested, I was curious. So if you have a hard time finding curiosity, if you have a hard time being curious, then I want you to know that being interested, interest is a great way of building curiosity. Think about some of the things that you've known, maybe career-wise, maybe even just like sports, anything like that, that you've learned those things because you were interested, and the knowledge base that you had was based upon the curiosity that the interest brought. So that's another way. Find an interest, and then subsequently the curiosity will come. But that comes subconsciously. So it's going to happen anyway if you have an interest. But here's the beautiful part about using your conscious brain, tooling your subconscious and cosmic energy, is that these things happen without you being aware. So that means it happens on their dime and their time. But if you are consciously aware, if you're consciously aware that interest and curiosity builds momentum to a higher intelligence, then you could do that consciously. You don't have to wait to have a test. You don't have to wait until everybody in the family thinks that you should know how to make grits, and even though you don't. You don't have to wait for all that. But what you can do is use interest to help you beef up that curiosity so you can know where you want to be, where you want to go, what you want to do, all those good things. All right. Really important for you to know that. And then so you will see that through the law of curiosity and getting lost in being curious, and you will see over time that the things that you want, the knowledge that you wanted, the test scores that you want will improve simply because you have implemented a type of positive curiosity that the universe is just highly attracted to. Intelligence, it's one of those things, like think of like a dating app, and it's like one of the must-haves, like you can't have bad breath. Well, with that, in terms of intelligence, it must have curiosity. It's on the requirement list. Curiosity. If you want to have me in your life, a higher intelligence of anything, books or street smarts, you have to have that curiosity. A curiosity mindset does a lot of things. It brings things to you in terms of intelligence. So I could beat that, till it's just dead and gone. But that is the bread and the thick of things, and it has actually improved my life. And one of the tools that I do to help me learn more about the metaphysics, the law of attraction, the law of assumption, the law of locomotion, and now the law of curiosity. And I leave that with you. So if you want to live a better life and you want to have more intelligence, please do these steps. Please implement this mindset, and also share with friends or family and see what they think. And have like a 3-month challenge, that the things that you want to know more about, just simply take this challenge and say, I'm going to be curious about these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that I want to increase my emotional intelligence about, or my overall intelligence about. It works both ways because they're kind of like hand in hand. And then so you will see that over time, you will become an expert, that you will become well-versed, at a minimum, a very highly effective contributor, and it will make your exams, your testing, your relationships, your work, all those things a lot smoother and a lot better by simply using the law of curiosity. So that's all I have for you today. I want you to use that and tool that, and I'm about to go. So happy manifesting, and shift happens. And I cannot wait to see you on our next episode. Bye-bye for now.